glaringly obvious. So you need to really question this whole idea that it's in my family. Well, of course, thin supremacy probably.
Yeah.
Zealotry, religious radicalism, misogyny. I mean, all of those things. Don't you agree? If someone is living in that type of horrible abuse, that they would have depression.
Yeah.
It's not the case for everybody, but your response is very telling. So, let's go there. So if you have the opportunity to surrender and to not have to fix your weight, if it has that type of benefit, why wouldn't you surrender it?
Well, there's no reason, really.
Yeah, because you're not really getting anything from what you're currently doing.
No, I'm not. It's been years. I haven't got anything out of it.
So tell me what your life would be like if this is what the body you're gonna be in forever. What's life gonna be like?
It would be free to enjoy life again, or start to enjoy life as much as I want to.
Isn't that the fantasy that's being held in front of you by the diet industry? You'll lose weight, and that's what the freedom you've been chasing. You think that it's going to happen when you're thinner, right?
I think a majority of it,
Yeah, that's the illusion, is that when you're thinner, you will have that freedom.
Yeah.
And that doesn't exist.
No.
You're just held hostage by the obsessiveness around food and depriving and monitoring your weight and paying attention. All the attention your brain can hold is now hijacked. So what happens to the freedom of not obsessing or paying attention to it? Goes away.
Yeah.
So if we stop paying attention to your body, and your food, diets, restrictions, if we stop paying attention to those things, what's the vulnerability?
The vulnerability is that I could get bigger, but it doesn't matter.
Well, if you want freedom, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right? Because you'd rather have the freedom.
Right.
The dots connecting for you right now? Is there a door?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you tell this is a choice?
Yes.
So it's really a matter of choice. It's not a matter of practice or time. It's, if I want that freedom, I have to stop paying attention to my size, my weight, my body. I have to stop paying attention to what people think about me. To stop paying attention about diets. I have to stop paying attention to all of the products and everything that's being shoved in my face 24/7 to take this pill, lose this weight, do this program. You have to stop paying attention to all of it. And how would that feel? How would that feel?
It would just feel like a weight's been lifted off my shoulders. Like I don't have to worry about that anymore. It feels freeing.
Describe that freedom.
Hard to describe. I can just do what I want to do and what I feel like doing. It's not. I haven't got any restrictions in my life anymore because weight's not an issue.
Would you feel more connected to life?
Yes.
Like plugged in to life versus plugged in to diets and thinnerness.
Yep.
I'm going to ask the question again, see if it really connects for you.
Yep.
So if you want this freedom, you're going to have to stop paying attention. If you want freedom from all the 90% of the day fixated on either food and binging or dieting and shame and whatever it is, if you want freedom from this whole thing running your life, from having to be obsessed about your body, You're going to have to stop paying attention to it. If you want freedom, that means you can't pay attention to it.
And that gives me space to think about other things.
It's like this whole world opens up to you. It's like the sun just shined through the clouds, didn't it? Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
The clouds can be moved. And then what happens to how you feel about your body?
Well, that changes.
How?
Well,
you're right. You're correct. It does change. Yeah. Tell me how it changes for you.
I don't judge my body anymore. I accept how it is. I'm happy with my body. I appreciate my body.
How do you feel about it?
I feel good about it.
Right? And it's not because it's meeting some condition that you have to starve and abuse yourself to get there. It's because the body has importance for you. What's important about the body that you have?
What's important about my body that I have?
Yeah.
That it works for me.
You're right. That you're alive, that you're conscious. Yeah. That's pretty much all you need.
Yeah. And accepting that other people might judge me for having these beliefs about my body when it looks the way it does, because I know there will be people that judge.
Yeah, well, they clearly believe that you should suffer because they believe that there's a fantasy that you could get in thinnerness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if they're judging you in your body, they clearly think you could be better if you chase the fantasy, but you've done that already, so you have wisdom around it. Do you really want to chase that fantasy?
No.
Right? Really, do you want to chase it? You've chased it. You got it. You've lost a bunch of weight.
Right.
And is being thinner really that much better? Is it really that much better life-wise? Is it really?
Well, it didn't really change anything.
It doesn't. It's all an illusion. You might have less knee pain or it's lighter, but that's insignificant to how you thought it would be emotionally, which is magic, right?
Yeah. I mean, I have moments where I felt high or happy because I'm fitting for smaller pair of jeans, but that doesn't last very long.
No, it's and that's very kind of like you're just there's moments of pride, like, oh my God, I did it! Yay!
Right.
I'm so hot.
Yeah.
It's really selfish.
Yeah.
Over something so ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
So if you really want your freedom, what are you going to have to do?
Be willing to let go of the dieting and obsessing over what I put in my mouth and how many calories it has and the guilt about overeating.
How's that sound?
Sounds good. Sounds good. It's sort of like, I feel like it's easier said than done. Like,
no, it's easy. It's that easy. Why would it be hard?
Because I think accepting the fact that I could get bigger, I'm just going to accept that. It's like, and not care about it.
Well, do you want to pay attention to it, or do you want freedom from paying attention to it?
I want freedom from paying attention to it.
So the only way for you to get freedom from paying attention to it is to accept the vulnerability that you could gain. You got to accept it ahead of time.
Yeah.
So you're correct in that would be a trigger if you can't accept that. Then you have to pay attention and your whole entire brain goes down the rabbit hole again, right?
Yep.
So if you want freedom, you got to go in your mind ahead of time and go, you know what? If I gain weight, I don't want to have to pay attention to it. And it's not that you're binging, because you're currently binging doing what you're doing.
Yes.
It's that you're You're just not controlling things so extremely, and you're allowing the body to do what it's genetically and biologically predisposed to do. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, eating to hunger, giving yourself freedom to just enjoy the pleasures of life and with food without being a radical zealot around it's bad or good for you. You're just going to enjoy it and not obsess over it or let it define you. So if you don't do that, if you don't obsess or let it define you anymore, you're probably never going to binge again. Yeah. So if the body that you're in gains weight, eating freely to hunger, it's going to gain weight. You're going to have to diet permanently to just stay the same. Right? Did you understand what I just said?
Yeah.
Permanently, you'll have to diet. Just to stay the same. Because we're not suggesting that you go out and binge. We're not suggesting anything like that, right?
Yeah.
We're just suggesting you relax and stop focusing on it.
It's just the hunger thing. I don't know. I know when I'm starving.
Yeah, well, if you don't have the pressure around your weight anymore, you understand what changes with the hunger scale for you, right?
Okay. Yeah.
What happens because there's no pressure?
Well, I start to trust my own body, what it's telling me, not second guess it.
Yeah, and you get the space to learn. Yeah. You get the space to learn this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's no pressure. You can figure this out. It now becomes a natural learning curve.
Pressure on it. Like the last week, when I've been trying with the hunger scale, I had all this pressure to get it right straight away.
Yeah, because you didn't want to gain weight. You were trying not to gain weight.
Yeah.
So see, there's a difference between what I'm telling you to do and what you've already done.
Yes.
No, we're on a totally different plane of thinking. Now you can see where I brought you where we're supposed to be at. And so you're like, oh yeah, that would make sense. No wonder I was struggling. I had all the issues with my weight that I brought to the hunger scale. It's not going to work. It doesn't match.
Yeah.
So if we remove permanently from your life weight loss, thinness, and the task of fixing your size in your body, what happens to how you relate to food?
Well, I'm not obsessed with it anymore.
Changes everything.
Yeah.
So the other part of
when I was hungry,
it would be a lot easier, right? To just because then it's like, well, but there's a donut. Well, yeah, you can have donuts the rest of your life. Do you really want a donut? Do you have to eat it all? You can have more later. Do you see how that changes everything? It's like taking that donut and spreading it out until the day you die. If you can have donuts every day, all day long until the day you die, anytime. Do you see how that reduces the pressure behind having to eat it right now?
Right. I don't really care to have it.
Well, until you do, and then you will.
Yeah.
Because you have that freedom. It takes the PTSD out of eating. When you remove the dieting, which has caused an incredible degree of post-traumatic stress for the majority of everybody I work with. For the binge eaters, for sure. Major PTSD from dieting. Terrell, they'll do anything to remove any sense of feeling deprived, right? So when we take away the impending diets, the impending restrictions, the future deprivation, any possibility of restricting, and we allow all food for the rest of your life, all of a sudden that fight or flight, shifty-eyed paranoia, and the hoarding and the binging of food just goes away. And isn't that part of the freedom you're looking for? Which is, I don't want to think about it all the time. I don't want to have shame about it. I don't want to have guilt about it. I just want to eat my goddamn cheeseburger and play like my kids. The only way you're going to get that freedom is if you accept that that in order for you to get that freedom and to not pay attention to this anymore, you have to accept the vulnerability of what's going to happen by not paying attention to it. That the body's going to go up or down. It's going to do whatever it wants to do. And you have to decide that I don't care. That's not important anymore. The body's size and weight is never again going to impede me from life. I'm still going to go to the beach. I'm still going to go to the movies with my husband. I still want to have kids. I do not care whether I'm fatter or thinner or anything in between, because if I do care, all of that insanity comes back and your whole brain is going to get hijacked by your PTSD. So do you want freedom or do you want to be thin? Because you can't want both.
I prefer freedom, thanks. Definitely freedom.
Are you willing to pay the price for that freedom, which is potentially getting fatter? And go into the realness of that, especially the permanence of that.
Yes.
Did you really feel that?
3/4.
I'll take it. I'll take it. You just need to process through this a little bit more. You really have to go into it.
I want to say yes. I want to say yes and really mean it.
Well, what would happen if it was yes and you really meant it? What would happen?
I would feel free.
And how would that feel right now?
It would feel good.
It would feel amazing.
Yeah.
Right? When is the fear of going into a whole new life in a body that's bigger than it probably was meant to be, but you don't have to fix it. It can handle itself. The fear of the vulnerability of this white space of infinite possibility in a life for you to create, and like your child, if you have one, will have that space. You're going to have to figure that space out sooner or later. You know what I mean? So the fear of that space compared to what you're doing, which one should you be more scared of? Which one?
Continuing on the way I am.
Yeah. Wouldn't you agree that you would, if you knew that this pursuit of being thinner, that this was the outcome, wouldn't you rather be fatter? I'd rather just be fat. I'd rather just be fat. Like, nope. Don't ever do that.
The pressure's off then, you know.
Say that again?
The pressure's not there, is it?
No.
I don't have the same pressure,
Yeah. I mean, be realistic with how terrible this desire to be thinner is. Compare it to the actual physicality of where you're at now. So, how much do you weigh?
I'm about 89 kilos the last time I checked.
So you're about 180 pounds. So I want you to compare being Say that again?
I'm about 5'2", so I should be around 55 kilos.
It doesn't matter. You should be wherever you're at right now.
Okay.
You don't have to be 55 kilos ever again.
Yeah. Okay.
How's that feel?
Good. It feels good.
Yeah, like you don't have to be that anymore. In fact, if you have to be 55 kilos right now, what happens to you?
I don't enjoy my life.
You feel like you're suffocating? Feels like someone's strangling you?
Yeah. I've got to keep it up. I've got to look at everything I'm putting in my mouth.
Yeah, and you get panic and anxiety that comes up. Like, that's PTSD.
If I stuff it up.
From the diets.
Yeah.
So if someone said, you could be 55 kilos if you follow our program and diet, or you can stay the same. You can be, 90 kilos.
Yeah.
Which one would you rather? If you knew what you know now, which one would you rather choose?
Well, I'd probably say, with all the mental crap that goes with being that size, I don't want to.
Yeah, wouldn't you flip them the bird and say, fuck you?
Yeah.
See you later. Bye-bye. I'd rather be large. I don't care. I know. So it is a decision, and it's something you have to really let sink in. Once this sinks in, you've got to go through in your mind, if this is a decision you're going to make, every ounce, every corner, every possibility. Like, I remember thinking, I'm going to end up having children this size. I'm going to be a fat mom. I'm going to be the fat mother of the bride. I'm going to be fat on my vacations. I'm going to be fat. And you know what I realized is I would rather be fat on all of those things and be totally free from giving a shit. Be free from worrying about it. I don't have to care. I don't even have to worry about it. I can just embrace the environment I am. I can embrace the environment of my children and the environment of their wedding. I don't have to embrace my thinner body or the shame that I'm fat. I don't want to embrace any of that anymore. I'd rather not give a shit about my weight. Right. What's the difference between me being overweight, being a mother, at a bride, the groom or the bride's mom, or me having a broken leg with crutches at a wedding? I mean, it's like, it's a physicality that has nothing to do with the goddamn wedding. So if you become indifferent about your body, you have access to life with the body is no longer a condition. Thinner or fatter or anything in between, you don't have to wait, you don't have to pay attention to it. It doesn't have to be magnified. It's not important. You get absorbed into that life. You absorb into reality, into the light, into the space, into the abyss of amazingness, and it's way better. Yep. You can breathe. There's room. You can figure things out. You just go with what feels good to you. You do what feels right to the heart. You're no longer completely held hostage by your desire to be thin or what you have to do to stay thin, which keeps you away from reality, from being absorbed into life. So essentially, you're lifeless until you make this decision. Which is, again, this is what the illusion people think they're getting when they lose weight, is that when they lose weight, they get absorbed into life. But that's not the case. Right. Your weight loss becomes your life. That's all you get. So you have to really question what you want out of your life. What do you really want? Do you want thinness? Is that what you want? You can have it. It comes at a really high cost, though, doesn't it?
Right. The price you have to pay for it isn't really worth it.
No, it's your life. Like, that's all you get. And then you get to deal with your food issues at the side. And then you have to deal with trying to fix the problems that you have because of your food issues. And this is all you do. It's a vicious cycle. Yeah. You're essentially... I have a client who's probably going to watch this. She described it as, you know, that oriental finger thing that's kind of woven and you put your fingers in it. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And then when you pull, what happens?
What is it again? Sorry?
It's like a Japanese or a Chinese, I don't know where it's from, but it's a finger game where there's a woven little cylinder. You put your fingers in it, and when you pull... Yeah, and it all releases, sort of thing, yeah. Okay, what happens when you pull?
It releases.
No, it tightens, and you can't get your fingers out. Oh. You don't know what I'm talking about, do you? No, I'm doing something else, yeah. Okay. I don't know what it's called. But that's what this is like. It's like you want out, and it tightens. Okay, yeah. And your hands are stuck because as you pull away, the pattern, the weave gets tighter, and it restricts on your hands more. It's kind of like, do you know what cheatgrass is? Never mind. What I'm basically trying to describe is like an example of how this is like, it's like you're cannibalizing your life. Because your life is dedicated to being thin, but what it takes to stay thin because you want thinness and you want to use thinness is all of this stuff that takes up your whole life. So you don't really get life. Yeah. So if you want your life back and you want that freedom back, what are you going to have to do?
Let go.
You have to, and how do you let go?
Accept whatever happens.
Yeah, and you have to accept it ahead of time. If you don't accept it ahead of time, what's going to happen?
binge.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to know when I'm hungry.
You're going to feel bad about your weight first. What happens is you feel bad about your weight first, and then you feel like you have to do something about it, and then that is the trigger to the PTSD around the dieting.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're binging.
Yeah.
And then you feel physically terrible. And then you're like, I got to fix that. And then you just get sucked right back in.
Yeah.
So by going through it in your mind ahead of time, you're saving yourself some relapse. And even then you may have a relapse where, you know, I don't know, where you may go to a doctor's appointment and they're going to try to shame you.
Right.
You need to lose weight. And there's so much evidence around shame at the doctor's office as a primary cause of binging.
Yeah.
Which is because people feel that they have been shamed and judged by someone who you're reaching out for help with, you know?
Yes.
So you have to go into all those vulnerable experiences and go, you know what? I have to, even if, like, I cannot do this anymore. It's traumatic for me. I am responding in a this has been traumatizing. Clearly, it's not just so easy. You just stop eating sugar. It's so great. It's not like that.
No.
So the process of recovery, you start with your relationship with your life and your body. What do I want out of life? And if I want to be free, I have to change the relationship I have with my body, because currently your body is your life. Right? Yeah. How's this feeling to you? Are you overwhelmed?
I get it. But I still haven't reached that point where I'm ready.
Right.
So, not totally.
That's
partially. There's still something that I'm holding on to. I don't know what it is.
What are those?
No, I don't want to live like that. I don't want to live like that anymore. No, I know that.
Yeah. So you need to go in and you need to reconcile those things in your head. You have to go into those things. Because those things essentially are then you're a slave to those things.
Yeah.
Right? Those are the things that you're saying that you're struggling to rectify. That's why you're suffering. So are those things worth suffering for?
No.
So
logically, no.
Well, emotionally, I'm asking the question for you emotionally.
Yeah. No, they're not. Not even emotionally, no.
So what's the struggle?
I don't know. No, there's no struggle, I guess. It's just, I've never looked at it this way before. You know?
Yeah. And are you feeling like, I don't want to do it? I don't want to do it.
Part of me, yeah, but a bigger part wants to. But there's a small part of me that still clings to, I'm not going to be happy with that. If I put on more weight, I'm not going to be happy.
Yeah, and that's the ego, right? Yeah. That's the part of you that thinks that it's the weight that is the problem.
Yeah.
Right? And so, is it the weight that is the problem, or is it the thinness that you're trying to reach that is the problem?
The thinness I'm trying to reach.
Do you feel that?
More of a problem.
Yeah, because that's what's essentially making you feel bad about your weight.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't expect you to get this right now. I hope you don't feel that way. I
feel bad because I'm not totally. I get it. I do get what you're saying, and it makes sense. It does. But there's just this voice that says, "How can you accept that?" You know.
Yeah. No, I know that voice very well. I've got a lot of clients that have that. That just means you need to suffer more.
Yeah, right. Everyone's going to be staring at you and,
yep.
You feel uncomfortable and,
yes,
you so unfit and...
Yeah, all those things you need to accept. You don't even argue with that. You just need to hear it and go, yep, yes, people aren't going to like me. Compare people not liking you to the suffering. Which one's worse?
The suffering's worse.
Well, of course. So keep on comparing. Well, you're going to be, yep. Don't even argue with it. Don't even defend. Oh, that's not going to happen. No, go into, yeah, you're right. That is going to happen. That's true.
Yeah.
Don't feel bad about it. So that voice that's saying that you're giving 100% power, don't argue with it. Give it like, yes, that's what's going to happen. Which one's worse? Suffering and fear of those things or those things occurring?
Yeah.
Why don't we go through those things? Let's go imagine what you were just saying. I want you to imagine it actually happening. Let's feel it. So what's going to happen? What's that negative, like, you're not going to accept that. What happens if you're going to be fat? No one's going to want to be with you. What's it saying?
How could you accept having a body like that sort of thing?
So basically, that's pathetic.
Yeah.
Okay, you're pathetic. What else?
Sorry. You've gone.
Left off at pathetic.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah. Just how could you wear a costume looking like that and
You're a joke.
Yeah.
You're pathetic.
Like, how could you accept looking like that? How?
Yeah, like you're a piece of shit. You're worthless.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else? Or is it all pretty much the same abusive language?
Yeah.
You're pathetic. You're a joke.
Right, yeah, you can't even manage what you eat,
Say you can't manage what you're eating, so you are weak and incapable.
Right. Yeah, there's something wrong with me if I can't get this right. It's not that hard.
There's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's imagine that there's a room of people and they all feel that way about you, and you're just standing there.
Mm-hmm.
And how does that feel to be receive all of that? You pathetic piece of shit. You're a joke. You're worthless. Look at you. You're weak and incapable. You're totally not okay. You're worthless, and there's no point to you. Right? So imagine that. People, yeah. There are people that feel that way. Not everybody would, right? You know that. Not everybody would feel that way. But there would be that energy would exist. And then those people eventually, once they feel that about you, then what do? Do they keep on thinking about you the rest of your life?
No.
Of their life?
No.
Then what do those people who feel that way do? What do they do?
Go on with their lives.
Yeah, and then what?
Yeah.
For you, what happens after you've experienced that type of shaming?
Usually, I would obsess on that. I would feel I'd have to fix it. That's how I'd feel.
Well, you're not. So imagine feeling that and knowing you're never going to change it. Okay.
Okay. I'm never going to change it. Well, I'd say, well, this is the way I am, and I accept it. If they don't, well, that's their issue, really, isn't it?
So I want you to, because that's the point, right? We're giving this up. You're abandoning any way to fix it. So if you want freedom, the voice in your head's like, you piece of shit. You're not going to be able to do this, you loser. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you get permanent freedom and you'll never fix this again, experience the shaming of that. Imagine that there are people out there who are going to think you are a worthless pile of crap. That you are worthless, that you have no point to be here, that because you have body fat, that your life is worthless. You shouldn't be alive. Get rid of yourself. Okay? People think that way. You thought that way. Okay? But you're not going to do anything about it.
Yeah.
So imagine you're buck-ass naked in a room and all these people are going to be filed in to see your body. They're going to see it. It's going to get exposed.
Mm-hmm.
The vulnerability is that people are going to think you suck. And I want you to feel the suckiness. Feel that you're pathetic. I want you to invite the joke, like you're a joke in, invite patheticness in, invite worthlessness, weakness, incapable. And there's something wrong with you. Invite all of those opinions in right now.
Yep.
And then what happens once you have exposed yourself to those types of judgments? They're there with you. You say nothing. You don't defend yourself. You don't excuse anything. You expose the fact permanently, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So then those people, they're like, she's a waste of our time, and they leave. And there's other people who are like, I don't see what the big deal is. Whatever.
Yep.
And they leave. And you're eventually alone with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And how does that feel?
It feels good.
In what way?
That I haven't needed to defend myself. I haven't needed to.
And you
I am who I am, and I accept it, and I'm happy with it.
Yeah. And so what happens to your fear of being pathetic or a joke or being worthless?
It diminishes. It goes away.
And doesn't it feel really liberating?
Oh, it does. Yes.
So if that's all you have to live through, which one's worse, being exposed to being shunned and shamed, or living insanely to avoid people criticizing you like that?
Which one's worse?
Yeah.
Avoiding it is worse.
I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
So in this process, now go into the paying attention to life instead of your weight. Now go into weight being this way forever because you're not going to pay attention to it anymore. So basically you're going blind to your weight, whether it's higher or lower. Now how does that feel knowing that even if people judge you as pathetic and a loser, you don't give a shit? You're not afraid of that. They can think that all they want. They clearly don't know what you've done and how much you suffered. And it's none of their business anyways. So they can think what they want. How does that feel?
Feels good.
Does this seem so hard?
No.
Does it seem reachable?
It seems like it's not even an issue anymore. It's sort of like, that's not my issue. I have that issue.
So if you had to sign a contract that says, I, Donna, am willing, in order to, in exchange for permanent freedom from ever again having to care about it, wonder about it, hope for something different. I don't want to emphasize my weight or my size for the rest of my life. My life is now my emphasis. The body I have, all I need is its life. I'm done. Would you sign it?
Yes, I would.
And how does that feel now? Now, how does that feel?
Good. It feels like I don't even need to talk to you anymore.
Sweet. All right, session's over. I know we went over just because I was like, I'm not finishing until we do this visualization.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Okay.